Okay, so I talked about last time how you need to, when you flare out the bowl, you need to have this extra thick area here to support the sides while it's still wet. Otherwise, it may flop down. So there's going to be quite a bit that I trim off here. It's good to just kind of feel and look at it before you put it on there. Just kind of get an idea of how much can come off. A lot of it is just by feel and kind of guessing, since you can't actually see how thick it is. I'm going to get it as centered as I can. On my wheel. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to check to keep it centered with my finger here. And I've got the like uneven edges, so that can show things off a bit. I think we're good though. Okay. Thank you. All right. I'm just going to anchor it down with some clay. I actually made this one Thursday, but it was on a wooden bat that didn't have any finish on it, so it dried out quicker because the bat absorbed a lot of moisture. So it's, preferably I would like to let it sit out and dry a little bit longer, get a little bit more firm, but it's okay.
How long do you set it out?
Maybe like an hour or so, just to let it dry out a little bit more. But for demo purposes, I'll do
In total though, how long?
It's hard to say. Like, it depends on how humid it is and the temperature and all kinds of things like that. So you just kind of have to watch it until it gets leather hard. It firms up so that you can handle it easier and it's not gonna collapse on the wheel. Okay, so this, I didn't really clean this up very much before I took it off the wheel, so I've got this really uneven edge here that I'm going to use this smaller trimming tool to get off that unevenness to begin with. It just works a little bit better than the larger one to get that off. Okay, and I feel like it's just, I need to move it just a little bit. Have it be centered. Sometimes it'll want to kind of ripple as you go around. I don't know if you guys have noticed that when you're trimming, but if you take the corner of the smaller trimming tool and just kind of run that around a little bit to try and get rid of some of that. Sometimes that'll help.
So why do you use the small one versus the bigger one?
I don't know how to put it into words, but when you use the smaller one, it just trims off a smaller area, I guess.
So it's like if you mess up, it's not as big of a deal type of thing?
Not necessarily. It's a little bit more precise. Like, if I were to try and trim this bowl with this larger tool and there was all that unevenness, it might just stay like more uneven. Whereas this, where I'm trimming off less at a time, it just is. It doesn't work evenly.
Do you eventually go to the big one just to kind of smooth it out?
Yeah, I'm going to switch over to the big one now to smooth it out. Once you get rid of that unevenness, then you can switch over to the bigger one.
That makes sense.
I need to think of a better way to explain that. Other than it just works better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just does.
It's good enough explanation,
Just
I guess.
do it.
Just do it.
Don't ask questions.
I trust it.
all the way down. And then as I get farther up this side of the bowl, I kind of ease off on the pressure just so I don't cut into that too much because it's thinner up there. Okay. And you can kind of feel as you go to see if it's getting too thin. So far it still feels pretty firm. Okay, now I'm going to switch back to this smaller trimming tool and create a little undercut here to define the foot. So I'm just cutting in with that corner there to kind of just sets off that foot a little bit more. And then now I want to get rid of this extra clay that's right here just to round that back down. And as I'm trimming, this is a good position to have one hand on the pot, thumb reaching over to your other hand for support, and then arms kind of tucked in as you go. Okay, just gonna feel again. It feels okay. And do a little bit more. Of this, I had to cut it off the board and it kind of made it uneven. So I want to even this base out before I start creating the foot, the bottom of the foot here. So I'm going to use this larger trimming tool and just use the flat side of it and work it out. And as I do that, that's going to get rid of the uneven areas on here. Okay, now I'm switching back to the smaller trimming tool. I'm going to use the corner to define that inner bottom edge of the foot. My hands are really touching and supporting here. Don't try and just do it with your arm alone. The clay will just drag you all over the place. Okay, now I've got this kind of place where I know I'm going to stop. If I didn't have that, the clay would tend to want to just keep dragging you clear off the edge. So it just gives you a place to stop. Okay, so now I'm going to switch back to the flat edge rather than the corner for trimming off the extra clay along the bottom. I just like to do it like a circle at a time. You can try to just, keep going out. I tend to lose control a little bit when I do that, so I just like to do a circle at a time. Work my way out. Okay, filling. Still feels fairly thick. I'm gonna just go over it and kind of even things out. Every so often, it's good to stop and get the little crumbles off. And I'm gonna switch to the bigger one and just flatten it out and clean it up. That's a good thickness. All right, and then just to kind of clean this up, I'm going to go back with the wet sponge. Just clean up those edges a little bit. It's good to take a minute and just look at the profile and see if it's looking how you want it to look. go back with my finger and kind of smooth things out as well. You can also use a metal rib to kind of smooth. All that good.
Oh, I look at the signature real quick.
Okay. It's a little floppy, so I gotta be careful. And yeah, that's not too thick. So I think it's a keeper. Just do that for video purposes. Okay. Alright, so that's trimming.
Stop the video.